Understand this religion, which was smeared in all the media, as being a religion which advocates hatred. As a result, hundreds of thousands of Americans eventually ended up converting to Islam every year because what they found about Islam was peace, love, and compassion. According to a census conducted by the U.S. Religion Census, this is a large American center that provides religious data at the country level. It says that between 2000 and 2010, the number of Muslims in the United States increased from approximately 1 million to 2.6 million. This is an increase of 67%, making Islam the fastest growing religion in the United States. In 2017, the number of Muslims in the United States was estimated at around 3.5 million, according to Pew Research Center. Among these new Muslims are thousands of American soldiers, some of whom accepted Islam while they were on the battlefields fighting Muslims. In this video, we will reveal with supporting testimonies why a record number of American soldiers are converting to Islam. But we want to set this episode up with some important historical context, specifically in relation with the history of military warfare. When Western historians mention the greatest military leaders of all times, they point to Napoleon Bonaparte, Julius Caesar, and Alexander the Great, because these figures align with Western-centric versions of history. But when you speak to modern-day military leaders and strategists, however, they will invoke a name most people in the Western world have never heard of. This is Khalid bin al-Walid, a 7th century warrior whose accomplishments place him among the 3 greatest military records of all time, having led the Arab Muslim army to victory in more than 50 battles, including that of Yarmouk, which opposed Muslim armed forces against the army of the Byzantine Empire. As described by John Walter Jandora in his book Militarism in Arab Society, the Battle of Yarmouk was one of the most important battles in world history. This victory ended Byzantine rule in Syria and led to subsequent Muslim conquests and the expansion of Islam into Central Asia. But what's most fascinating about Walid is that once he hated Islam and killed Muslims, and he fought alongside the pagan Meccans against Prophet Muhammad's troops during the famous Battle of the Trench in the year 625. But after realizing that he was in darkness and that Islam is the true path, Khalid bin al-Walid decided to become Muslim, and he rose through the ranks to become the commander-in-chief of the Muslim army. This is the man who later succeeded to unify the Arab world for the first time in human history, a feat that neither the Romans, the Persians, nor the Ethiopians were able to accomplish. Bin al-Walid's biography reminds us a guy named Terry Holdbrooks. He became a Muslim in 2008, 6 years after he joined the U.S. military to exact misplaced vengeance against Muslims for September 11. He was deployed to Guantanamo Bay, where the worst kinds of torture were inflicted upon more than 500 innocent Muslims who had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda or the September 11 attacks. But it was here that he found Islam simply by watching the behavior of those prisoners he watched over. The thing about Islamophobia is that it's rooted in ignorance. People are afraid of things they have no personal experience with. So, when the so-called War on Terror got underway, it was easy for the U.S. government and media to whip up fear about the Muslim world, given an overwhelming majority of Americans didn't even know a single Muslim. This was certainly the case for Miles, a former U.S. Marine who converted to Islam after serving 2 tours in Afghanistan.
Another perception is, what Muslims are terrorists, that sort of deal. Well, people fear what they don't know. The majority of Americans don't have Muslim friends. They don't know anything about Ramadan or Nowruz or praying 5 times a day or whatever. What Americans see is in the news, is in the CNN, and they see, this terrorist attack, this Muslim terrorist attack, this Muslim extremist, this, that, and other thing.
There are literally hundreds of stories of American soldiers who converted to Islam after being sent to Afghanistan to kill Muslims, which reminds us of the story of Khalid bin al-Walid. Put simply, being exposed to the Muslim world even in the heat of battle, is the fastest and surest way to unpack every single lie you've been fed about Islam in the media.
And I ended up joining the military. And once I joined the military, I was in the U.S. Army for a number of years and ended up deploying to Afghanistan, to where I kind of learned a lot more about the culture of a Muslim and found some of the most peaceful people that I have ever met in my life. Definitely gave me a different view than what I had seen here in the West when it comes to different news channels and different things that are thought and, stereotypes of Muslims.
Okay, what stands out from this testimony is the word peace. Let's think about that for a moment. He was sent to a Muslim country by an invading military force to kill what he had been told were threatening and violent locals, but only to discover they lived peacefully and in accordance with their religious faith, while his country was invading and bombing countries all around the world. It's this realization that has drawn so many current and former American servicemen and women to Islam, the very religion they had been convinced the United States was at war against. Converting to Islam while fighting a war against a Muslim population on behalf of your imperialistic government is a paradox that could not be more stunning. When Islam rightfully claims to be the religion of peace, then these conversion stories must be count as its best advertisement. To conclude, in this video, we've talked about American soldiers, but if you do some research on the internet, you'll find British soldiers, Australian soldiers, and French soldiers converting to Islam during and after their deployments to Muslim lands. Thank you for your time.